Thank you, Ma'am. And I'm going to speak to council care, I think, today. I would say, firstly, that anyone who pays a minimum wage is unlikely to have any staff in this day and age, because you just won't have any if you pay that sort of money. That's the truth of it. I'm concerned of the consequences, as the Social Security Minister mentioned, of government interfering in what is in fact commercial activity. I'm not oblivious to the effects of paying too low wage having on the need for government to support people, and that's obviously quite wrong. But recent events in the past few days dictate that commerce can be quite fragile. Now, recent events have been, we don't know what have dictated that. Salaries will have had a part to play. Labour cost is an enormous part of the cost of any business. And what I'm keener to encourage is that jobs are offered. Jobs that are sustainable are offered. Now, I say sustainable not only for the employee, but also for the employer. And if an employer isn't in a position to offer a sustainable job, well, there won't be a job. So that's fewer jobs available to those who are on the marketplace for one. I think it was alluded in a previous speech, training costs are not insignificant, and it can cost thousands. It really can cost thousands, and in small businesses, this is an enormous amount on their overhead, and that overhead cost has to be translated into their sales figures, which is not always easy to achieve. The Employment Forum has been mentioned several times. Ma'am, I don't feel personally the Employment Forum has been at all effective, and I say that with personal experience. I've never seen them. I've been employing people for 50 years. I'm conflicted, you might say, and people, should we say, apprentices upwards, never seen hide nor hair of the Employment Forum. So I think maybe they need to reach out a bit further if they're to get realistic information which can feed members of the chamber. I think further education, the further education system with regard to vocational education, vocational courses, may need further consideration. And I would refer back several years ago, because I've been in a long time. The arrangement was that if you had an apprentice, you'd send them to Highlands, they'd have a day's training, and you would pay for that day's training. So you would pay them for that day's training. So effectively, the apprentice had a full week's wage, and government contributed a day's training. And actually it worked. But then it got fouled up with complication, which made it actually quite difficult for employers to engage in such a way. So I think that I would just refer, I made a note that the responsibility of employers to shoulder the burden on this is, I feel, a degree unfair. And I refer to the building trade, which has changed enormously in the past few years. And we heard that, well, with the calamity of yesterday, that firm mentioned was employing some 50 people, which was unusually high. Most firms, Ma'am, won't be employing anything like that in terms of core staff. Most of their workers will be subcontractors, and those subcontractors will be 2, 3, 4, 5-man bands. And truthfully, they won't be able to afford to pay trainees at all. And that's something we need to encourage back in, because otherwise we aren't going to get good skilled training for the youngsters in the island. So I just conclude by counselling care over the consequences of government interference. The less, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So on that basis, I don't feel I can support the proposition. Thank you, Madam.